My intention with this video is not to convince anybody of anything. I want to say that right off the bat. This is a space where I'm sharing what I've learned through education as well as experience. And this is for somebody where if they are at the end of the road, they've tried every single thing trying to heal their chronic pain, and you will probably get things out of this if it's just like anything chronic. This is for you. Because I know that's when I was open to this information, was when I tried all the things that I was meant to and nothing worked. This shit worked for me. Now, I'm Lauren. I am a personal trainer. I don't practice that anymore, but I'm still certified. Became certified as a corrective exercise specialist, performance enhancement specialist. I studied pain-free movement, which is pretty much trigger point therapy. I did all of that because, which I believe is truly my highest qualification, is I've had chronic pain since I was 14. It started in my back and then very much moved to my shoulder and just like the whole right side of my body, sciatica, all the things. Again, I approached it from the structural lens of what is wrong with my muscles, what is wrong with my joints. I went to all the doctors. They gave me all the medications that did not help me. Told me to take Advil, and then gave me really heavy ibuprofen that made me extremely delirious, and none of that helped, right? Obviously. Was told there's nothing wrong with me, and then I was told, oh, it might be this, it might be that, which very much when you're given a structural diagnosis, that's all it is they're just listing a symptom. It's a fact, but it's not the capital T truth. So what I mean by that is if I'm having chronic pain, I'm not saying that there's nothing structurally that's happening. I'm just saying, is the structural issue the cause or the effect of something deeper? And more chances than not, it's the effect of something deeper. I'm going to get a little deeper into this. So I, one day, picked up the book called Healing Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno. He is wonderful. If any of this resonates with you, go and check this dude out. Also, Nichole Sachs studied under him. She's amazing. And I believe he was a chiropractor. Don't quote me on that. I believe so. But he was a practicing doctor, and he correlated that so often it is anger or other emotions that our body chooses not to feel and instead chooses to feel pain. So what happens is, again, on the structural physical level, our body inhibits the amount of oxygen to a certain muscle, and that creates pain. It creates tightness, contraction, and then our mind concentrates on that pain instead of concentrating on the emotion that feels really uncomfortable to feel. Too uncomfortable that it chooses this pain instead. And I know logically that doesn't really, you're like, well, why would I choose that? But think about the uncomfortable emotions. Think about how much we suppress. We suppress so much. So it's our body communicating with us like, hey, you're not feeling something that hasn't been worked through yet, that hasn't been moved through your system. So everything that he said very much resonated with me. He actually has a lecture on YouTube that was really good that I watched too. So I definitely recommend checking him out. So I had started opening my mind to this point of like, oh wow, this actually makes sense because there's a structural emotional component to this, right? And emotion is just energy, emotion. So I'm starting to view as from an energetic lens. Now, then, I believe this came afterwards. I might be getting the timeline mixed up, but that's when I started studying pain-free movement, which, as I said, was trigger point therapy. I studied under Chuck Duff. I took his course online and in person, and his whole theory, which I experienced it, and it fucking works. I remember waking up after being in person with him the next day and crying because my shoulder pain had gone away, and I don't ever remember feeling that free and that light and that at ease in my life. So what I learned through his course material was that it started to speak a little bit about the nervous system, and that trigger points, now oftentimes we kind of just to go over real quick, trigger points are where your muscles very contracted. Oftentimes where the trigger point isn't actually where the pain is felt. It's a referral pain. So you can have pain in this area in your shoulder, but it's actually going to show up in your back. Or I'm sorry, you can have a trigger point in your shoulder, the pain's going to show up in your back, or vice versa. You know, like, that's just an example. It doesn't show up oftentimes. Sometimes it does, but more times than not, the pain is not directly where the trigger point is, which is super fascinating, and it's not totally understood why that's the case. Now, I think that very much just shows on an energetic level how everything is connected, and again, how everything affects something else. Nothing is just standalone on its own. So I think that encompasses grander understandings of how the universe works just on a minuscule scale. That's what I believe. So what he had explained is that trigger points are a lack of oxygen in the muscle. So just as Dr. John Sarno had explained, and he explained this with emotions, right? That when your body, which I then started to learn about the nervous system and all of that, when your body doesn't feel safe enough to feel an emotion, let's say something really scary happens and your body is like, whoa, this is way too much emotion to process. It quite literally doesn't know that it's going to survive feeling all of those emotions, so it suppresses them. And then what happens is your body, your nervous system, when it breathes, it restricts oxygen to a certain area, and instead of feeling those emotions, you feel the pain from the trigger point, the contraction in that area. So at this point, I was like, holy shit, everything that people are saying from complete different like corners of the pain management world, it's correlating. And granted, the course that I took didn't touch on emotions at all, but like I said, I started diving into the nervous system because I was like, well, I took a somatics course then and realized, again, tapping into the suppressed emotions, and then understanding, like I said, how when the nervous system doesn't feel safe, we suppress those emotions. I started to realize how all the time I don't feel safe. How often are we running in our mind, worrying about a problem? How often is there a problem? Once we solve that problem, there's the next problem. However small or large it might be, there's always the next thing to worry about. And I think a lot of people will relate with me on this. This is what anxiety is, right? So through somatics, I started understanding when I'm suppressing emotions, when I'm feeling fear in my body, when I feel contracted, how there's something that I'm worrying about, right? And I want to say this has been a practice. Now, I'm 27 now. I started learning all this stuff probably when I was 25. And I just now am at the point where when my chronic pain is flaring, I know how to work with it. And it's so beautiful. I want to offer this to you if you are dealing with this. First and foremost, I'm sorry. It sucks ass. It sucks ass. It is terrible. It has made me so depressed. I remember calling my mom one day and I'm like, I can't do this. I cannot live my life feeling like this. I will not. Just so depressed. And if you're there right now, I'm sorry. And I want you to know that there is a way out. And maybe opening your mind with what I'm going to say next, which I mean from the fucking bottom of my heart, as somebody who has been in that position and is still working through it, I now see that it is a true blessing. My chronic pain it's a signal from my body when I am living in fear, when I am out of alignment. It is telling me something. It is communicating with me. And this is why it is so much deeper than just a structural issue. The structural, again, is just the byproduct of lack of oxygen to specific areas in your body. And then it contracts. And then, of course, you have issues in that area, right? Then, of course, you have nerve damage and you have issues with your discs and all of these things, right? Sorry, I get so excited about this shit because I love the body and I love how everything intertwines. And sorry, I can get a little lost when I'm talking about it. But as I was saying, I have learned that this truly is a real gift, and I'm gonna explain with this. So kind of the last step thus far in my journey with chronic pain was a year ago. I sat with ayahuasca, and this was my second weekend ever sitting with ayahuasca. Remember asking the first ceremony, please help heal my body. I hadn't gotten much insight on that. I got a little bit, not really anything that stood out. This ceremony, y'all, once the medicine started hitting, my shoulder, the one that has chronic pain, started vibrating. I couldn't replicate it right now if I wanted to. I couldn't. The way that it was vibrating and just pulsating, and I don't want to say aggressively because it wasn't aggressive. It wasn't like I was thrashing around, but it was. I remember taking my arm out of my blanket because I was like, this is gonna look kind of weird, because my shoulder was just moving so much. And the medicine told me, you're not going to be healed after tonight. You will, tonight is shifting, right? Because again, it's recalibrating. But it said the more you step into your power, the more you will heal. Now, the day of this ceremony, I remember talking to my friend, and I was like, hey, I'm scared to go deep, because I had sat with it the night before too, and I was so scared that I had blocked the medicine out. And I was like, I'm scared to go deep because there's something like right here in me. I can feel it. And I don't know if it's like a negative entity or if it's fear. It's one of the two. And my friend, I know I've told this story before and I love him for this. He was like, if you need an exorcism, have a fucking exorcism. Like, this is what you came here to do, is heal. So whatever it is, you're going to find out and you're going to deal with it. And I was like, God damn. So yeah, that second night I went deep and I saw how it's fear. It's fear of my own power. My chronic pain is fear of my own power. Now, I racked my mind around, what does that mean? What is my power? Do I have a specific power? Is it like the power of now, like being present? And what I've come to realize a year later is it is all encompassing. It's not like, oh, my power is I'm an intuitive, right? It's everything that I am. Now, I will say that I am extremely sensitive as a human. I'm sensitive to everything from like scents and aromas to foods to sounds to being around people. That drains me a lot very easily. Other people's energies. I can feel very deeply, and something that I've been pondering is this kind of an underlying factor of people that have chronic pain? Does that correlate? And I could imagine that it does, because you're feeling so much and it can be overwhelming for your system. So what I saw that second night of Aya was, I saw how my body has so much energy in it. So much energy. Like, I saw all of the energy that was in me, and it was beautiful, and it was so intense and so grand, and I'm so blessed to have that amount of energy in me. Yet I saw how there was no outlet for it. I was so scared of tapping into that energy that it was like a voltage that had nowhere to go, and it was just getting like louder and more voltage, more voltage, more voltage. And then it's like the only way that it could express itself energetically was like through that pain. That shit was crazy to see. Yeah. For me, what's my power? I'm still figuring out, but I think it is presence. I think it's tapping into my sensitivity. I think it's learning to speak my truth. I think it's sharing my voice. It's putting this energy somewhere. It's expressing the energy as well as grounding the energy. And that energy is very much emotions. Again, emotions, energy, and motion. So when I'm feeling things, I'll get in my car and I'll scream. I'll journal about it. I'll move my body. I'll do breath work. I'll turn on music and dance like a wild child. I'll sit down and make a video. Something to move this energy. Again, maybe it's grounding. Maybe it's needing to be with Mother Earth, putting your feet on the ground. Maybe it's whatever grounding means to you. I'm not going to get into all of that right now. In John Sarno's book, and also in experiences that I have heard of with plant medicine, not me specifically, but ones that I've heard of. And again, he explained this in his book, where there's people that have had like true structural damage, right, through an accident, whatever, like there was an acute injury. Now, some people have pain after the acute injury. Like, let's say you fuck up one of your discs or something, right, in your back. There's people, and they studied this, where they will have the same issue, the same structural happenings in their body, and some feel pain and some don't have any pain. And through doing this work, again, even if it was an acute injury, if it was like a legit injury, through doing this work, they were able to heal the pain, even if the structural components of it all hadn't shifted. And like I said, I've heard this. If you highly recommend the podcast Acid for Squares, I'm obsessed with it. And they speak to this. One of the hosts on it, he talks about how in his plant medicine ceremony, he had been in an accident, fucked up his back, wore a brace and everything, and in the ceremony he healed that pain, hasn't worn a brace since. Now, am I saying that you will never feel chronic pain again? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what this looks like for me, and again, I'm still healing this, but it is a guide for me. It tells me when I'm out of alignment. I truly, even as frustrating as it is, because it is so fucking intense for me, it's like, yes, it's mostly here, but it's full body. I would say that I have healed mine, like, what instinctively comes to me is 70%. I know that I don't believe, I'll say I don't believe that it's ever going to be a constant zero. I could be wrong, and that's fine if I am, but why I say that is because, it, like I said, it is my guide. And maybe I won't need it as my guide, but when I'm doing, like, let's say there's this, for example, like a job opportunity, and I'm thinking about it, I can feel like, hey, this is a no, or this is a yes. Or if I'm getting stressed out, I can feel like, yo, you're out of alignment. You're like really in an energy of lack and of fear right now. And again, when you're in fear, your nervous system shifts into that fight or flight. Blood, like the oxygen in your blood is restricted, all of that. You get really contractive, right? Like your muscles are gripping, everything's gripping, you're getting really tight. That's that fight or flight. It's fear. Are we seeing how everything is connecting? There's so much, like it's so all over the place, yet it's all the exact same. I love this shit. It's so cool. It's so cool. And it's been my hardest lesson to learn, my most painful lesson, yet the one that I feel so fucking blessed to have learned and still be learning. So when I do feel my chronic pain come on, and this is something that I want to offer to you, if you're like, okay, cool, I'm into this, like I'm resonating with it, I want to play around with this concept, how the fuck do I play around with it? When I'm feeling it come on, first, as cliche as it is, take a breath. I just come into my body for a second. And this may be completely foreign to you, and that's fine, but I just take a second and I'm like, yo, okay, like, just relax 1%. And I just kind of relax my body a little bit, kind of release the grip. Not forcing it, but just like, hey, let's chill for a second. And then something great that you can do is just check in with your thoughts. Not judging them, not analyzing them, just noticing like, okay, what am I thinking? Oh shit, I'm stressed about money right now. Okay, I'm in fear. Makes sense. I get why like everything's contractive and hurting, right? Fight or flight, fear. Or, oh, I'm stressed about this relationship. Or, oh, I'm wondering if this text that I'm sending is sounding rude. Or, oh, I'm wondering if this email, like, what word to use here. are. Like, oh, I'm staring at my computer and I'm like getting all bug-eyed, all like cracked out, like trying to do everything quickly and perfect, and like, oh, I haven't looked away from my computer in 2 hours. Interesting. Are you going to heal yourself completely in that moment? No. Are you going to create that conversation within your body of noticing when you're in a fear pattern, of creating more safety in your body, of understanding the language of your body, of truly appreciating, like, oh, you're contacting me, you know? And y'all, I've done it all when it comes to healing. Chiro, Acu, gone to all the doctors, did all the things, took the drugs. I remember after a breathwork session, I became a breathwork facilitator because of this. After a breathwork session, I was shaking during the session so much, like releasing all this energy from my hands and just like moving my hands a lot, and like my hips were shaking. That whole night, the next day, I had no chronic pain. Like my pain was damn near gone. Like I would argue gone. Now if you asked me like, yo, go do 5 push-ups, that would have aggravated it, right? But that's something too, is, you know, the doctors told me, hey, stop working out. I was like so compulsively obsessed with working out for a long time. They would say, hey, stop working out, stop doing dance, stop doing whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I would stop. My chronic pain would not get any better. It would be just as bad as it was if I were working out. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I'm not even like stressing out my body. Yet my body was in such a stressed state 24/7. 24/7. So I'll get into like in another video, like how I found movement that nourishes my body instead of shifts my body into fight or flight, because that doesn't help me. That just creates more contractiveness and chaos and all that good shit. If you're feeling this, read Healing Back Pain, John Sarno. Look into the nervous system, maybe somatics. Again, I'm going to post more videos on here. Me and my sister, we are doing a nervous system cohort, Foundations of Healing, starting September 29th. If that sounds cool, just like leave a comment, or I'll put it in my bio probably. Yeah, good luck on your healing journey.